This was a game that we all thought that Toulouse might just get the edge on Leinster because of history and because so many people from Leinster were injured as well.
Yeah, I was surprisingly confident. I think I know a lot of these Leinster guys very well. I know Leo Cullen very well, and I know the confidence and faith he puts in the young guys he's brought through. And I also got a lot of confidence in the fact that 20 out of the 23 players in the Leinster squad today were brought through the academy system and were used to playing with each other and care about the team, care about the province. And I think Toulouse came into town with a rejuvenated team with a lot of confidence, having not lost in 12 games and having beaten Leinster over in France. But I think they in the first half they really put it up to Leinster, and Leinster under pressure at certain points in time, but there were enough big game players in there to hang in there in the tight moments, play against the win in the first half, go in with a lead 10-6, could have been even a bigger lead at that point, and then the second half used the win really well and actually showed Toulouse what they could have done in the first half. In the second half, Toulouse couldn't get out of their half, and I think Leinster put incredible pressure on them, didn't let them get out of their half, and then just ground them down, got a couple of tries that finished them off, and then Toulouse had a huge period of pressure then about 50 minutes into the game where they pounded Leinster's line for about 30 phases, got nothing from it. Leinster went up the other end and scored a try, and that was the real turning point in the game.
So would it be too simplistic to say that maybe the difference was a bit of belief, a bit of maybe home ground advantage as well? Because in the first half they were neck or neck. The difference was that Leinster try, but after I think it was 34 phases or something like that, so you could tell that Toulouse were toe to toe with them until the second half really. They
were toe to toe with them, but I think what Leinster were thinking is we keep the pace up, we keep going at them, and then in the second half we can loosen things up a little bit, and I think that's what they did. Is they used a lot of one out runners to ground them down. They showed a lot of patience in attack, and they worked incredibly hard for that first try. But I think as the game wore on, Toulouse showed a bit of fatigue. The heads began to drop a little bit as Leinster began to get some dominance, and I think Toulouse found it very hard to play against the wind. Their halfbacks are really exciting attacking players, but not necessarily very experienced, and there were a few moments in the second half where they had a chance to release the pressure, made the wrong decisions, and it just allowed Leinster to get more and more assertive and more dominant in the game, and you could see the confidence in the young guys building from that. But a couple of players really stood out. Sean Cronin in the first half in particular was a huge leader for Leinster. Scott Vardy in the second half stepped up and had some big plays, and Gary Ringrose for the entirety of the game was Leinster's standout player. Made some big plays, really stepped up as a leadership figure, and I thought Ross Byrne had some big moments as well. Tough boots to fill when Johnny Sexton isn't around. That crossfield kick, the real moment, the first kick he'd made in the entire game, about 65 minutes in, literally puts it on ninepence for Dave Carney in the corner, and delighted for Dave Carney, who's been out for a long time with injuries, to come back and have a big game like that and score a try in the corner.
I think my French wouldn't be that good, but when I was in at the press conference, I saw the French coach and a lot of the French journalists discussing the Leinster physicality, and they were talking specifically in the second half, and they were kind of saying it with half a smile, half a grimace. They were saying they didn't expect to be hit that hard, probably because, you know, it wasn't the first string team out there for a lot of the positions.
Yeah, it wasn't, but I think Leinster pride themselves, and no matter who puts the jersey on, the standards are the same. You saw with Munster last night, the ferocity with which they defended, and I think the Ireland team during the November international seems to be something that's really running hot within Irish rugby at the moment. Defences, it comes from Andy Farrell, comes from Stuart Lancaster and Leo Cullen, and the coaches like Johan van Kraan down in Munster and out in Connacht and up in Ulster as well. Like, everyone's driving those standards in defence, and like, to be honest, if you can't defend well and you can't hit hard, like, teams will break you down. And Toulouse have a lot of strong runners, a lot of really quick backs, and guys like Chelsea Kobe on the wing who can cause damage if you don't make your tackles. And I think Leinster got their line speed right. They got into Toulouse's face and made it really difficult for them to string together really strong attacks.
Finally, we do know the calibre Toulouse have. Obviously there's Toulon and a few others like that, but based on today, and I know it's hard to get a crystal ball out and to be saying, is it too early, or can we now say that Leinster, being the champions and all that, are they the team to beat?
Yeah, I think we can say it. I think you can always say it as of last year's champions. I wouldn't be saying it now if I was still playing for them. I think they won't be saying it, but the fact is they're looking good for a home quarter final now. If they can go to Wasps and get a result next week, they'll be in really good shape for that. And they are the team to beat. You got teams like Racing, you got teams like Saracens, Exeter, Toulouse, who have already beaten Leinster this season, who will always be in the mix. But when you think of the calibre of players like James Lowe, Johnny Sexton, Devin Toner to come back into the mix, for this Leinster squad, and the display the guys who played today put on. It's a really, really exciting time to be a Leinster fan.